OpenAI plans to launch its own AI chip next year, co designed with Broadcom, to meet the soaring demands for computing power and also to mitigate that single source supply chain issue from Nvidia that plagues many of the AI companies. Chip will be used internally to run and train AI models, following the same sorts of trends we've seen from some of the other hyperscale vendors, Google, Amazon, Meta. Broadcom confirmed a major new customer with $10 billion of orders. Broadcom didn't say that it was OpenAI, but that's what we all believe. Move comes as OpenAI tries to bring in more resources to compete with products like ChatGPT and particularly GPT-5 that's coming. Uh, we're seeing huge growth in AI data centers. Tom, does this mean huge growth for Broadcom as well?
It should. And I think this is an area that Broadcom has been particularly worried about because when you look at where all the growth has been happening in the industry, it has been happening around these AI accelerators. And Broadcom powers a lot of the AI infrastructure that's going in on the back end, but not the actual GPUs themselves. And I think that that's something that they really want to be a part of. Plus, they haven't exactly been on the best of terms with NVIDIA over the years. I remember there was a kerfuffle that involved Mellanox and Cumulus Linux and Broadcom API access. That happened I say many, a few years ago. But realistically speaking, Broadcom is giving OpenAI something that they couldn't get from NVIDIA. Essentially, they're getting custom silicon. Now, that's not exactly the way that this is being portrayed, but hear me out. NVIDIA is going to make NVIDIA silicon and you're going to run your stuff on NVIDIA, right? But so is everybody else. And that's part of the problem is that if you can optimize your models to run on NVIDIA silicon a little bit better than everybody else's, then you have an obvious advantage. It's one of the things that we've seen from some of the AI platforms that shoot to the top of the app store for a little while. Was it DeepSeek? I think was one. They just figured out how to run a little bit faster. So, what's OpenAI to do? Because if they're trying to optimize their code to run on the same thing that everybody else is using, there may not be a way to win. Well, what if the manufacturer was optimizing their hardware to take advantage of the way that you do things, but in a way that makes it so that not everybody has that same chance? Now, I'm not saying that there's any kind of a deal here that Broadcom is giving OpenAI to make them kind of dominant in that space. I'm just saying that when you look at the handwriting on this wall, Broadcom really wants OpenAI to be one of their biggest customers when it comes to purchases, right? And the only way to really make that happen is to play ball with them, to give them something they can't get from NVIDIA, which is a little bit more insight into the design process. So I think what we're probably going to see is, a large purchase. What was the number $10 billion in order? That's pocket change anymore. What it is, though, is an opportunity for OpenAI to really kind of innovate around these new chips and possibly get people chasing those performance gains. And how do you do that? Well, if you're writing your software to take advantage of what OpenAI offers, why not go buy the hardware from the same group? I'll have to see what happens with this one.